In this video, we're covering Sunny's first nightmare in Shadow Slave. To understand what's about to happen, we need to start from the beginning.
Sunny, our main character, sits on a bench outside a police station, sipping coffee, seemingly unaware that his life is about to change forever. He enters the station and tells the police officers that he's been infected by the nightmare spell. They immediately restrain him, tying him to a chair. But this is crucial, they then explain exactly what he's facing. The nightmare spell is essentially a disease. If you contract it, you fall asleep and must face a trial. If you win, you wake up and gain supernatural powers. But if you fail, you turn into a monster. Sunny closes his eyes and enters the first nightmare. The very first thing he witnesses is haunting a massive mountain looming before him, with an impossible sight, time itself flowing backwards. Bones revert back into skeletal remains of slaves, and these figures slowly descend the mountain until time suddenly resumes its normal flow. Sunny now stands among them, just another slave in a caravan heading up the mountain. The nightmare spell grants powers, so Sunny immediately checks what his ability is. What he finds is devastating. His aspect is temple slave and the description is blunt, he has no skills or abilities whatsoever. He also receives an attribute called Fated, which will become critically important later. Dejected in trying to shake off the disappointment, Sunny engages the other slaves in conversation.
Then an older slave warns everyone, don't harm this one. He's not just a regular temple slave, he's a temple slave to the shadow god.
The others laugh it off as nonsense.
Shortly after, one of the slavers offers Sunny water.
This seemingly simple act introduces one of the most critical figures in all of Shadow Slave, a man named Oro.
Remember that name. He'll matter far more than anyone could anticipate.
The slaves eventually reach a higher point on the mountain and set up camp around a bonfire. As they sit in the flickering light, they discuss the poisonous berries nearby, a seemingly innocent conversation that feels ominous. Then, without warning, something absolutely massive comes crashing down from above. Looking up into the darkness, Sunny can barely make out what's falling, massive chunks of ice descending like meteors.
He manages to dodge, but those around him aren't as fortunate.
People scream and die as the debris rains down. When the dust settles, the source of the destruction becomes clear, a colossal monster known as the Mountain King. This thing stands at least 4 meters tall, with multiple arms and razor-sharp teeth. It's a nightmare made flesh. The creature swipes at Sunny, but he manages to hide behind another slave, narrowly escaping the killing blow. But his luck runs out, the slave he hid behind falls directly on top of him, pinning him to the ground.
Acting on pure survival instinct, Sunny and the surviving slaves use the chains binding them together as a weapon.
They manage to strangle the mutated monster, killing it. Meanwhile, the Mountain King continues its rampage, slaughtering slaves left and right and spawning smaller monster versions from the bodies of the fallen.
Then Oro steps in.
This dignified warrior takes on the Mountain King single-handedly, drawing its attention and holding it at bay while the others desperately brainstorm an escape. Running is impossible, they'd freeze without the bonfire.
So Sunny has an idea, they could use the chains to drag the Mountain King off a cliff that conveniently looms nearby. Sunny's plan is simple, tie the chain around the Mountain King's feet, then push the wagon over the cliff.
But as he prepares to throw the chain, something incredible happens, it doesn't wrap around the creature's feet like he planned.
Instead, it wraps around its neck like a noose.
Sometimes luck matters more than strategy. With Oro still distracting the beast, Sunny and the other slaves push with every ounce of strength they have.
The wagon inches toward the cliff edge, agonizingly slow. Sunny's heart pounds, will they make it in time?
Then, with a final desperate push, they send both the wagon and the Mountain King plummeting over the edge. Sunny collapses to the ground, utterly exhausted, certain that his nightmare has ended.
But he's wrong. Dead wrong.
When the dust settles, only 4 people remain, Sunny, Oro, and 2 others who finally get names, Shifty and Scholar. As they gather supplies from the bodies of the fallen, they realize something critical. Based on the nightmare spell's rules, the Mountain King isn't actually dead.
It's still coming.
So they make a decision, they can't go back down the mountain. They have to go up. They decide to wait until sunrise to begin the climb.
In the meantime, Sunny wanders off to find water for the group.
In the darkness, he stumbles upon one of the slavers, critically injured and clinging to life. The slaver, with his last breath, hands Sunny a broken sword.
Sunny doesn't hesitate. This is his first human kill in a nightmare. With that kill comes his first memory, an object he can summon and dismiss at will. Most people receive useful weapons or armor, but Sunny? He receives a silver bell.
That night, the survivors gather back at their makeshift camp. They sit by the dying fire, staring into the darkness, each lost in thought about what's coming next.
Morning will bring the climb. They don't know if they'll survive it. For now, they simply exist in the silence together, united by the terrible knowledge that the Mountain King is still out there, hunting them. As daylight breaks, the group begins their ascent. The mountain is treacherous, steep, icy, and unforgiving. Hours pass.
Sunny uses the promise of rewards to keep himself motivated. Once he completes this nightmare, he'll rank up and become a sleeper. He'll gain access to his soul core, the power system that governs this entire world. He'll also unlock the dream realm, a completely different dimension of existence. These thoughts push him forward, one step at a time, higher and higher. By nightfall, they reach a small clearing where they establish camp once more. Scholar and Shifty are both struggling to breathe. Their condition has deteriorated significantly.
They look absolutely broken. Oro and Sunny, meanwhile, are holding up relatively better. Oro takes the first watch while the others collapse into exhausted sleep. Sunny is woken for the night watch. He takes his position at the edge of the camp, peering out into the absolute darkness below. And that's when he sees it, far below, illuminated dimly by starlight, the Mountain King. It's alive and it's eating.
The corpses from the campfire are being devoured.
But then something interesting happens. A rock accidentally falls from Sunny's hand and tumbles down the mountainside. The creature looks directly up at Sunny. His heart stops. But then, nothing happens. The Mountain King can't see him.
In fact, analyzing its behavior from the campfire attack, Sunny realizes the terrifying truth. The Mountain King is completely blind. Morning arrives. Sunny wakes the others and they prepare to continue climbing.
But something's wrong. Scholar and Shifty are in terrible condition. Shifty especially has deteriorated overnight. He's barely able to walk. Still, they push forward. Hours pass. The altitude and cold are punishing.
Then Sunny notices Shifty falling further and further behind the group.
The distance between them grows. Sunny can see him struggling, stumbling on the icy rocks. Then a scream.
Shifty loses his footing and falls, his body tumbling down the mountainside until it disappears into the darkness below. He's gone. The group finds another path on the mountainside and continues upward. But then they notice something that confirms their fears: Shifty's body.
Or rather, what's left of it. And it's gone. This can only mean one thing: the Mountain King found him. The survivors now understand what they have to do. They need a new strategy. And Scholar proposes something dark: have Oro cut me down and leave me to bleed out.
I'll act as bait for the Mountain King while you two escape up the mountain. But Oro refuses to sacrifice Scholar.
Instead, he looks at Sunny and asks, why should it be Sunny? Why not you, since you're already closer to death? Scholar tries to convince Oro with clever words and reasoning, but Oro sees through it.
He knows Scholar's past, knows the prince's terrible deeds. So Oro makes a brutal decision. Without hesitation, Oro brutally breaks both of Scholar's legs.
The scream is agonizing. Scholar collapses, unable to run, unable to fight back. He's left there to die abandoned as Sunny and Oro continue their climb up the mountain.
The message is clear: Oro is not someone to be trifled with. Sunny and Oro find shelter in a cave as night falls.
They don't establish camp or build a fire. They just sit in absolute silence.
The tension is suffocating.
Then Oro speaks into the darkness. Oro said, it's strange. Usually, I can feel someone's presence, even in absolute darkness. But with you, there's nothing. It's like you are just one of the shadows. Are you asleep? Why are you waiting for me to fall asleep before you kill me? Or will you do it in the morning? Sunny's response is cold, calculated: yes.
I thought that if I did it when you sleep, you wouldn't have to suffer. The two of them banter back and forth, each testing the other's resolve.
Then Oro readies himself to kill Sunny. This is it. This is the end. But before Oro can strike, he collapses to the ground, vomiting blood.
The truth spills out like the blood from his mouth. After the Mountain King's initial attack, Sunny was assigned to gather water.
But Sunny didn't just find water, he used the poisonous berries to contaminate everyone else's supply.
Shifty and Scholar deteriorated because of Sunny's poison. They died because of his deliberate choice.
And now Oro is dying too. But here's the twist: Oro is not an ordinary human. He's an awakened human with his soul core already unlocked.
His body fights off the poison, leaving him barely phased and absolutely furious. He immediately attacks Sunny, throwing him against the cave wall with terrifying force.
Sunny escapes from the cave, running up the mountainside. Oro pursues him, shouting commands: stop, obey, just die. But Sunny keeps running.
As he runs, he summons his memory, the silver bell he received from his first kill.
He rings it.
Oro keeps shouting, demanding to know why Sunny rang the bell, not realizing that Sunny isn't looking at him anymore.
He's looking at something behind him. Oro realizes the truth too late.
The Mountain King emerges from the darkness, grabbing Oro with its massive claws. They collide in a desperate fight, but Oro's fate is sealed.
He's a skilled warrior, but he's wounded, poisoned, and outnumbered by a nightmare made flesh.
Sunny doesn't hesitate, he uses Oro as the perfect distraction and runs. Sunny runs. Higher. Faster. His lungs burn, his legs scream, but he pushes forward. Finally, he reaches the very top of the mountain. And there, waiting for him, is a ruined temple. Ancient stone pillars, worn by centuries of wind and weather. Sunny staggers inside, exhausted beyond measure. He collapses on an altar in the temple's center, his body bleeding from countless wounds, near death. The Mountain King follows, climbing the temple steps with inexorable purpose. It enters, ready to deliver the killing blow. But then something extraordinary happens. Sunny's blood, spilled across the altar, sinks into the stone. The altar absorbs it, recognizes it as a sacrifice. The gods are dead, as the text says, but they still listen. And Shadow, the god Sunny is bound to, answers. Shadow erupts from the darkness. Not fully manifested, but present, a force of pure darkness that drags the Mountain King away from Sunny. The creature that seemed unstoppable is now torn in multiple directions, pulled by forces beyond mortal comprehension. The Mountain King screams as its body is ripped apart by Shadow's power.
And then it's over. The creature is dead. Sunny has his kill.
And with that final kill, his nightmare is over.
He has survived. The nightmare spell then rewards Sunny with a cascade of rewards. He gains a true name, the foundational element of identity and power in this world. He receives a divine aspect, granting him godlike attributes and abilities. He gains access to his soul core, his connection to the power system that governs all awakened individuals. And most critically, he's granted access to the dream realm, a completely different dimension where his power can continue to grow. Sunny has not only survived his first nightmare, he has transcended it. He has become something more than human. He is now a sleeper, and his journey into darkness has only just begun. Thank you guys for watching. This was Sunny's first nightmare, a brutal, shocking introduction to the horrors and wonders of the Shadow Slave world. If you want to see more Shadow Slave content, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video.